Welcome to The Leading Edge, Conversations with Saskatoon's Leaders. Hi, my name is Dave Hagel, and I'll be your host for this new program on Shaw Cable TV. The focus of our program is really quite simple. It's leadership. What is it? How does it work? What are some of the challenges that leaders face? Are leaders born, or are they made? What are some of the benefits of being a leader? What makes a leader tick? To explore these questions, I've invited a number of guests from within Saskatoon who are recognized as leaders within their area of expertise. So our guests have a wide variety of backgrounds and experiences. Some come from the private sector, the public sector, and the not-for-profit sector. Others don't come from any sector at all. They're individuals who've demonstrated leadership, and they've not only impacted their life, but the lives of others. And we'll also take a look at leaders in the sports and entertainment sectors as well. If you're brand new to leadership, we encourage you to stay tuned. We hope that you find the information in our show informative, exciting, and motivating. If you're currently a leader, we ask you to stay tuned too, and that you might find some new tips and tools and techniques that you can use to elevate your leadership skills to the next level. Okay, our next guest is a lifelong resident of Saskatoon. He spent his entire professional career in the field of education. 17 years of that have been in formal leadership roles as a vice principal, principal, and superintendent. His current research areas include leadership and new teacher induction. And his current role is Director of Education for the Greater Saskatoon Catholic School Board. So it's my pleasure to introduce to you Greg Chatlain. Greg, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, David.
So tell us about your current leadership role.
Currently, as Director of Education, I lead the leadership team of Greater Saskatoon Catholic Schools. We have a 10-member elected board that governs our work, and I am their CEO or the Director of Education. So I work closely with the board, and then subsequently with my leadership team in the school division to lead the 44 schools that comprise our school division.
Okay, and how many people would that roughly be?
The leadership team? Or
the 44 schools.
The 44 schools.
Yeah.
Our total staff complement would be approaching 2,000 staff that would be working in those 44 buildings. Yes.
In a variety of different roles.
Wide variety of roles, serving approximately 16,500 students.
Wow, so lots of challenges.
Yes, you betcha.
So before we get started, tell us what your definition of leadership is. What does it mean to you?
Well, that seems to be an evolving definition as I move through my journey, but certainly leadership for me is really that process of bringing out the best in everybody around me. Those people who are so gifted and talented in their areas, to me it is my role to bring them to use those gifts to the best ability that they can, while I keep a good vision in place, a well-crafted vision that everybody understands, and bring that alignment together. So aligning the gifts and talents of our people with the vision and the direction that we need to go.
Okay. You also mentioned that you referred to your leadership as a journey. Tell me more.
Well, it's interesting having been kind of in that journey for 17 years now. I guess when you said it after 17 years, I started wondering, oh my goodness, that has been quite the journey. My understanding has certainly been growing and developing. Really think someone in these kinds of roles needs to be a student of leadership, or someone who really studies it. And as they come to understand themselves better, comes to understand their situation better and the role that they're playing at the time, their understanding of leadership needs to grow and develop and change, and have that kind of ongoing learning, ongoing development as part of who you are and how you express your professional role. That journey needs to continue to develop and grow. And so it does take interesting twists and turns and ups and downs over the course of the time. Again, depends on what we're dealing with in terms of challenges at the time and the demands on the leadership. So you always need to be kind of developing those arrows in your quiver, so to speak, that you can bring out and use depending on the situation.
So how do you personally go about expanding your skill set to be a more effective leader?
Well, there's a number of different ways that I would go about that. Certainly the academic route and reading and trying to come to understand the recent research and literature on leadership is certainly an element of it. Observation is actually a really important component as well. Watching other leaders lead, seeing how they manage through certain situations, how they deal with certain things, both on the positive and the negative side of things. We can learn a lot from a great leader. We can also learn a lot from someone who's struggling as well. So, the academic side of things, the observational side of things, and then, of course, just the trial and the error, not being afraid to take on a new challenge, to take on something and try it a little differently and learn from the experience. Has kind of been those three ways that I've worked.
So it's not afraid of taking risks.
Absolutely.
Stepping out there and, if you make mistakes, you get your nose bloodied, you pick yourself up and move on.
And away you go. And if you've built that kind of culture in your organization where that kind of risk taking is not frowned upon or that kind of thing, then you're also modeling that kind of behavior for your staff as well.
You mentioned earlier that leadership is also part of knowing who you are. I think for a lot of people that might be a bit of a foreign concept. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree. I think in trying to really hone your leadership skills, that is a critical component, is really knowing who you are and how you come to understand yourself. Of course, during that journey, you learn a lot about yourself as well. But working with people earlier in their career who are thinking about leadership, that's kind of one of their stumbling blocks to begin with, is really coming to grips with who they are, what their strengths are, what their areas of growth are, and being okay with that, and then charting a path forward in terms of how to continue to grow and develop. So it's really interesting working with younger leaders, and as they embark upon that journey themselves, who they are as they come to, as I said, grips with those things, and really trying to figure out where to from here for them.
So sometimes that can be challenging for a new leader to look in the mirror and say, these are areas that I'm not very good at. These are areas that I need to improve upon, and then actually go out and do it. Sometimes that can be difficult to recognize that.
Certainly, and I guess during that journey, I think more things are revealed to you as you go more deeply into your skill set and understanding yourself. And so the things that I think come forward early on in that journey are perhaps more easily dealt with in some cases, or perhaps not. But as they grow through that journey, I think I've seen them really come to go more deeply into themselves and really challenge themselves around what some of those areas are that they need to grow. And there's very many different ways that they come to see that look in the mirror. I mean, you can use those formal methods that you will use to understand your personality and those kind of things, but those are limited, I think, in terms of their applicability. It's really trying to be that reflective practitioner at the end of the day, or at the end of the meeting, or at the end of whatever the project was that you were leading, is really critically stepping back from that, looking at your role as leader in that, and coming to understand what you did well, what you need to do better, and learning from that process. So that reflective practitioner element is critical.
John Maxwell talks about that, at the end of the day, taking time to reflect on the day. At the end of the year, same sort of process where you sit back, look, okay, what went well, what didn't go well, what do I need to do, what could I improve upon as well. So that's obviously an important part of being a leader.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely, and that reflection takes different forms, and I think is can be something very brief, and other times it's more in depth as you really sit down and try to verbalize, either in written or in verbal form, what you feel to have been the strengths and the challenges, because sometimes we can look at things in a pretty cursory fashion as we do that reflection and kind of rationalize certain things, but sometimes it is important to actually sit down and write it down, or actually talk to someone about it, that there is strength in deeper learning and going through that process as well.
Okay. What are some of the challenges that you face in your current leadership role?
Well, there are certainly many. The education sector is one that's in a great degree of flux right now. Lots of change, lots of great things happening, but lots of challenges in there. So lots of change. For me, in my role, working with 44 different sites, that's a significant challenge, where we have a significant number of employees and students in 44 different buildings, working on a great many things. That's a difficult group to lead. So what we have in terms of an internal structure, where we bring the leadership together on regular occasions for us to continue to develop that relationship, to work together, to understand where we're headed in that vision, is an interesting challenge for a leader. In certainly other sectors where you have a large number of employees, but you're more centrally located, that regular contact, that regular face-to-face, those opportunities for the quick conversations in the hallway are more prevalent. For me, I need to be out there more. I need to get out to the various schools and the various locations and try to be present. So that's a challenge, just organizing that kind of a connection for the leadership group. Certainly trying to work in the provincial lens of things right now in terms of leadership, working with government, working with the board, working with the other stakeholders in the education sector requires a interesting leadership challenge for us. And so that would be a significant challenge right now too, because those sands tend to shift a bit too over time. We'll have change in government, change in key people in other places, and that throws a little different wrinkle into things in terms of how you're leading or the things that are going on. So, those would be a few of the significant challenges going on right now.
Well, it sounds real challenging because you've got a large number of stakeholders, and some of the agendas are political, and some of them are not.
Indeed, yeah.
So you mentioned before vision. How important is vision to a leader?
Well, it's absolutely foundational. I think without that, you're pretty much rudderless, and you don't have a lot of touchstone by which you can guide your decision making and guide your work. So to me, that's where everything moves from is that vision and the direction that you are heading as a leader. Now, you're not the only owner of that vision, of course. There has to have been a significant process that's brought that vision together, but that is absolutely foundational.
So as a leader, how do you get employees to buy into that vision?
Well, it's actually a process that happens daily. Some view it as we'll go through a formal process once a year or every couple of years or whatever. But actually, it's a daily process with every conversation, with every interaction, with every relationship, through every piece of communication. A little bit of the vision is reinforced or restated, and it's those many opportunities to continue to bring that vision forward. That's how you kind of turn the tide on the vision and keeping it moving forward and alive. It's unfortunate when you have gone through a great process and have built understanding in all of your employees in the various sectors or the various groups that you work with, and then it isn't followed up in that regular fashion. And with that kind of conscious infusion of that vision into every little piece of work that's going on. It's unfortunate because it gives mixed messages to the staff. They're not sure, well, is this still where we're heading or what's changed? So it really needs to be that degree of macro in terms of the large engagement to develop it, but then the micro in terms of the day-to-day operations that really reinforce it.
So what are the aspects of leadership that you like most?
It's exciting times to lead. Working with amazing people, like I said, who have a great degree of talent and dedication to the work that they're engaged in. That to me is the greatest benefit or the greatest aspect of leadership is working with these other folks. Working with people that have that passion and that drive for what they're doing is inspiring to me. I think we feed off each other very well, and it really leads to great synergy in the division. So to me, that's awesome. The other is just the changing dynamic of education. In our world, each of our communities that we serve are amazing communities that got great strengths, and all communities have great challenges as well. So it's really an interesting process to lead and help work through community challenges to lead to a better place. And so it's absolutely never boring, and I love that about the job.
So change sounds like it's a big component of leadership and being a leader.
Change is about the only constant we have right now, I think, is the fact that whatever is right now, next week will be different again. So it is really about how you, as a leader and developing the leaders within your organization, develop their capacity to deal with change, and how they lead through change and how they actually strengthen their community through change. Because many view that challenge of change as a negative thing or as something that's really dragging them down. Our intent in our work all the time is how do we take that change and help it strengthen our organization, help it strengthen our community, help it increase our outcomes, rather than something that is seen to be a negative. And that's an ongoing challenge, and I won't say that we've got that one figured out, but by and large, you just come to understand the change. We have ways of working through it, ways of dealing with it, and turning that into the outcomes and the positiveness that we want. So.
Okay. I'm chatting with Greg Chatlain. He's the Director of Education for the Greater Saskatoon School Board. We're going to take a short break and we'll be back momentarily.